a second. I always like to make sure she's on before we get started. So, how's everyone doing tonight? Y'all having a good night? Happy Tuesday.
Yes, another day of the week down. A work week that
Is your kid on spring break?
Yes.
Okay, mine too. I don't see Iva. I don't know why.
Well, we do know that she knows how to get on, unlike me.
Yep.
For the first time.
Hi, Missy. How you doing? Yep, she will. Well, she'll venture on here any moment. So we'll go ahead and get started, I guess. Because I don't want to. I like to keep it on the time frame. So just from. Oh God, hi from Sweden. Oh, Carrie. That's awesome. Thank you for watching from Sweden. That's awesome. And hi, Carrie. I'd love to have you come up one day, Carrie, just FYI. We'll talk about it off of this. Carrie has one of the funniest stories ever about Amy. I think I've shared it a little bit before, but it's about when they were taking driver's ed together.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
Yeah, and it's a hilarious story. So maybe I can. It's funnier coming from Carrie, so maybe we can do that. Hi, Fonlin. I am, Southern California. My sister's in California, but she's not Southern California. Come on, buddy. And I did write down your questions, so I have your questions to answer tonight, so I'm glad you're here. I got a bunch of stuff. So I do like to keep things moving and on track, and I don't like to hold people up. So when I say 7:30 to 8:30, hi, Sissy from Texas. Hopefully you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. I like to keep it moving, and 7:30 to 8:30, and we'll cut it off. We're going to do this every single Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until further notice. So as long as it's working for myself and Stacy, then we're going to keep it moving. Let's see. Hi, Lady May. Awesome. Glad you found us. That's awesome. We appreciate him. Grind has been a big advocate for us. If you've heard his story, if you've heard his, oh, all right, Sissy, but we're going to let you stay around anyway. Hi, Sweet Bee. How you doing, girl? And hi, Steph. Grind is, funny story about him real quick is that we didn't start off on the best of terms. He watched that Netflix show and went with that narrative and thought certain things. And so then later on, hi, Hibiscus. How you doing? Later on, he ended up talking to Brad and then completely changed his mind. And he's been a huge advocate for us ever since. So we really appreciate him. Can you guys hear me okay?
And he's from Boston, and I believe he likes the Patriots. So go Patriots.
Whatever.
Well,
okay.
I had to put that in there with your Dallas.
I know it. And I did just see Miss Iva join.
Hi, Mom.
Can everyone say hi to Miss Iva real quick for me? I like to show her the love as much as I can. Hello. Hi. You're late. You're 5 minutes late, so we're going to have to talk about that. Hi, Marianne. How you doing? Hi, Pasta Girl. Alrighty. So, all right. Well, now that the Queen is here, we'll start. So last week, big week in the Bradley family. I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask real quick. Did y'all say you could hear me okay? Is that all right?
Sure can.
Okay. If not, just let me know. So it was a big week. And every 7 years, it obviously falls the way that it went for them, meaning March 24th fell again this year on a Tuesday. So their whole trip, it was hard for them. And we talked about it a little last week. I continued to see it, and I know you did too, Stacy, even after we got off the live last week, because I think a lot of people stay focused on Tuesday of when she went missing, not realizing, I think it's hard sometimes, even listening to a live or watching a show, to really kind of put in perspective. But last week when people were following us and we were saying, well, look, Tuesday is when she went missing, that's when security has led them to believe that the whole ship has been searched, and they're pushing them to get off the boat and saying that, do y'all hear my dog? I'm so sorry. Um, Pushing them to get off the boat and saying that she has to be in the water. I need you to understand, they never thought that Amy had jumped, or that was never, or even fallen over accidentally. But when you have ship security telling you that the ship's staying on schedule, we're leaving, when we're supposed to, nothing's changing in our world. Ship, what did they say? Life goes on, cruises go on. So there's still a water search going on. There's a lot of stuff. So they get off of there, but they're still going through a lot of like, should we have got off the boat? We don't know. It's on Wednesday that, they're figuring out, wait a minute, something's not, going with their gut of knowing like, she's not in this water. We should have stayed on that ship. So then that's when they fly out and they fly out to St. Martin. They have to ferry out to get back on the ship. That happens on Thursday morning, and it's then on Thursday afternoon that the FBI. So I think going through that with us last week and going through it with them also, you just felt that heaviness of the whole week. And even it's like when you sit there and realized on Friday morning that it's not until Friday morning that they find out finally about eyewitnesses and that she was seen. And so that's, she's been gone for 72 hours before they're finding it out. And it's by accident, honestly, that they're finding out, because security was keeping that from them. Security didn't tell them, or the FBI. So at any rate, Stacey, I know it's probably a hard week for you last week too. So anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just immediately thought when I heard, I didn't think it, I think I said I didn't believe it when they called me, but when I saw it on the news, but I got myself together and I was like, you know what, they're gonna find her. She's gonna show up. I mean, probably playing a prank or something, but not this long.
Yeah.
And that, I think it was my stomach. I remember my stomach being very ill. Is what I remember the most. This is.
Yeah. I'd gotten my first job in media, in December of 97. And my client was Ruth Chris. So Amy and I had been working at Applebee's at the same time, but then she went to Ruth Chris, and then I had gotten that. But Ruth Chris was my client. And so I worked with her boyfriend at the time, Tom, in regards to the advertising. So I was still seeing her, occasionally. I wasn't at Ruth Chris every single day, of course, but I would see them occasionally. And yeah, I will say that I was dealing with my stepdad at that time, which is also ironic. Literally, my stepdad died October of 98. And now here I am now helping with Amy now. And that was my stepdad. And now my dad has passed away 2 months ago. So I think that's a little odd as well. But there was a lot going on in my life. But I remember, getting people calling. We didn't have, I think I got my first cell phone sometime later on in 1998. But we were still really, we're old. We didn't have all the fancy technology. There was no social media. There was no, how do you page that? I don't even know. It was a weird time. It's definitely an interesting thing to, have technology and have the ability to get on here and talk to people and ask for help, because the Bradleys didn't have that before. So that's a good thing. All right.
You didn't have people on the cruise ship able to text out immediately, like, this is what's going on the cruise, and this we didn't have that then.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't get back to us for quite some time.
Yep. I'm going to send him an invite. I have sent some invites. You don't have to come up. It's only if you want to. But Fawn Lene, yep, I met the Bradleys actually in the 8th grade when I moved to the neighborhood right beside their neighborhood. They lived in Creekwood. I lived in Kentwood, but their neighborhood was the fun one. They had the pool, they had the volleyball courts, they had the basketball courts. So all the kids that were around the area all congregated into Creekwood every single day. And the Bradley's house was one of the houses. We had a few houses that we would kind of rotate through, but the Bradley's house was one of those. So, yep. Okay. Hi, Kendra. Kendra is someone that we're going to have on in a future. We were trying to get her on tonight, but she is the special lady that helped us with creating the Amy Alert petition. So I want her to be able to come up and talk about that on a future episode. So um, we'll let you know when that's going to happen. So is anything else, Stacy, you want to add before we move on? Hi, Kyla's.
Girl, you go, girl.
How are you? Okay. And Mandy, and if y'all want to say something, I didn't. Y'all had sound like y'all had stuff going on in the background, which is why I said mute. But if you want to come on and say something, by all means, do.
Well, I think I was a freshman the year of 1998 in high school. So I don't remember hearing about the case then. It probably wasn't until maybe, I think it was on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries years later, but my heart has always gone out to the Bradley family about this. But, thinking about what technology or where technology has come from, starting back in 1998,
Right.
It's definitely mind-blowing. I spent the day, the 24th off, part of my day of work, just kind of praying and meditating on that, because I know the family, my heart, went out to them. And not, as always it does, but yeah, I know that's a hard day. I can see that. So I just spent the morning off just kind of praying, meditating on that for them.
We appreciate that. I think every day is hard. I'm not going to speak for Iva, but I think we could say that every day is hard. But when it's, special moments like that, whether it's Christmas, whether it's Thanksgiving, whether it's Amy's birthday, whether it's, we've mentioned that Amy was born on May 12th, 1974, which was also Mother's Day. So Amy was born on Mother's Day. But, this week is just hard. Well, last week, I should say. But yeah, every day is hard. All right. So I'm going to jump in. I know we have some questions that I got last week. I want to say that, we've shared this before. We do this because we love the Bradleys. We believe that Amy could potentially be out there. And as long as we believe that there's a hope, we're just not going to give up. I know a lot of people come at us in a negative way and think, one, that we're wrong, or two, that we should just give it up. It's been 28 years. All I can say to that is to each their own. You don't have to help. You can keep scrolling. But for us that truly believe that there is a chance that she is still out there, we're not just going to wipe our hands of it and be like, it's been 28 years. We're just going to move on. That's not going to happen. So we got a big push after the Netflix show did come out, even though it wasn't a true documentary. It certainly put Amy's name out there. And there are certainly a lot of people that have come and have joined our social media pages and send us messages and try to assist us in ways. And we're appreciative of that. So we're going to just focus on that, the good people, and move forward. I didn't share this last week because it was more important to me that we talk about the Bradleys, but just so that you'll understand where I'm coming from, I'm a mom. Stacy's a mom. Obviously, we're both daughters. We've got parents that we're taking care of. She works her butt off all the time. I run a business. She's always doing stuff with her kid, related to sports or anything else, honestly, really. But, I am in a band. I do community work here in the county. There's a lot of other things. So this is one thing that I do, for the Bradleys. It's not my full-time job, though. There are other people that help on this team that are full-time, and I always feel bad that they don't get the credit where it's due, because they're working on stuff, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And y'all see me or Stacy on here, and we might be responding to comments, when we can. But there's definitely a big, huge team that's behind the Bradleys. I know a lot of people want to talk about Jim because he's come forward, but he's certainly not the only person on the PI team. All right. And then, so there were a couple of things that have come up in the last week I just thought I would address. With Jim real quick, because that has come up. Jim is on our team. Jim is very well versed and certainly does his job. But there is a much bigger team that's involved. Jim, just so you know, came to us through Beth Holloway, which is Natalie Holloway's mother. And Jim also worked on the Aaron Hernandez case, which is the guy from the Patriots, right? Yeah. So
Yes.
he is very well qualified to be helping and assisting, but he's certainly not the only one on the team. Something that came up this week, and it actually came, believe it or not, from one of our haters, which is hysterical. So a shout out to our haters. We love y'all too. You know why? Because as long as y'all are talking about Amy, you're doing your job. So thanks for that. But something did. That's right. Someone, oh yes, Marianne. Whew. Yes, they come out of the woodwork. I shouldn't say that, actually. There's about 10 of them that come, and they're consistent, and you know, it is what it is. But they did bring something to my attention last week that I had not caught. So I was like, well, look at that. They actually are useful. I was engaging with them in conversation, and they did ask me about the blue jeans. And my answer to them then was, I don't know what you're talking about. I was honest, and I did not know what they were talking about. I came back and I asked Iva and Ron about it the next day, and they were like, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't know what you're talking about. So last night I had some of the girls go and get me a copy of the video that the person was talking about, so that I could actually see the video, because we didn't know what they were talking about. And so we watched it last night. Well, I didn't send it to Iva and Ron because I knew they had a big morning. They had to get up at the break of dawn. So I held it and I shared it with them today. And don't you know, it's actually from the Netflix show, and we never caught that, which is wild. But now we know that other things were edited in the Netflix show. We have proof of that. We know Chris Fenwick was edited. We know Judy Moore was edited. We know that Lori was edited. We know Iva was edited. And now the haters brought this to our attention. So now we're going, So I'm going to be completely transparent and honest and say, did Ron misspeak? Maybe. But none of us knew what anybody was talking about when they kept saying blue jeans. So we're almost under the assumption that maybe Ron got edited, because Ron does not remember ever saying blue jeans. Regardless, I just want to clarify and put it on record that if you do watch that Netflix show, it says that she was wearing a white shirt and he says blue jeans. And it's not blue jeans. It was blue Bermuda shorts. So it would have been blue shorts is what should have been there. But we didn't catch that until last night and this morning. So thanks for bringing that to our attention. Again, don't know if that was if Ron misspoke or if that's just another edit. Have no clue. But that's the answer to that. There are no jeans that are missing, just the blue Bermuda shorts and the white t-shirt that we have always said. All right. The last week, there were a bunch. Anything, Stacy, you want to add on that? And if you ever want to say something, just wave at me, because I'll keep going. You know me. You good, Stacy? Okay. Yeah. All right. So last week, there were a bunch of articles that started coming out. We saw them, and we were like, here we go again, because it was not correct information. It's happened quite a bit since last July. And as it was coming out, we were like, man, where does this stuff come from? And honestly, we also think, why do people believe that? Like, they take it, they run with it. I'm going to be like, there is a local anchor here in Richmond who's been on the air for decades, very well known, probably the most popular anchor in Richmond. He even flew to Curacao to report on it when it was happening back in 1998. So he knows the Bradleys. He knows where they live. He's been to their home. I don't know why he didn't reach out to them. He has direct contact with the Bradleys and could have said, hey, but that didn't happen. And even he was posting that article. So it's not just big national media, that post stuff up that's not correct. You could say, well, they didn't connect with the Bradleys because they don't know them. Well, even local people here are doing the same thing. So you probably saw some things that were coming up. One was saying that our PI had spoken to Ari Mark and gave an update about what was going on in the case. In the beginning, to be fair, you all were hearing us say, well, the Netflix show wasn't really the true story of Amy, but we're grateful that they did it and they helped put Amy's name out there. And I guess to some extent, that is still true. But I think after 8 months of putting up with all we have put up with in regards to that false narrative there's so many wrong things in that show. And the Bradleys had no control over that. They had no creative input. They saw that show 2 days before the rest of the world. So I think after that, you kind of get to that point where it's like, man, was it worth it? I don't even know. I mean, I guess it is worth it because we are on a live TikTok, on a Tuesday night talking about Amy, but it came with a lot of baggage. So what I can tell you is that when you saw that anybody from our team would be giving an update to Ari Mark so that he can speak to the public, that should have been people's first clue that was not true. That would not be happening. We would not be updating Ari so that he could give an update. The saying that the FBI, that there's a renewed interest from the FBI, not true. And I know a lot of people got excited and they're like, that's wonderful. No, because if you're paying attention, you saw the interview that the Bradleys did this morning. And in fact, what they asked President Trump to do was give it to Homeland Security. The FBI has had it for 28 years and they're doing absolutely nothing. And I mean nothing. So when you see things go up, and it also said that they had put out a $25,000 reward. Guys, that reward's been there for 8 or 9 years. That's not a new reward. It's not new. It's not increased. There's no new interest by the FBI. When they contact the Bradleys, it's the same old, same old. So the interview that was done on Fox and Friends First this morning, if you haven't seen that, we have plastered it everywhere. It's on our Facebook pages. It's on our Instagram page. Brad's got it on his X account. I have it on my X account. I have it here on my TikTok account. People reach out to us all the time and ask how they can help. Go share that video and do us a favor. If you're following us on all of those platforms, go share it on all of them and tag the people. I have tagged people on each platform, so you can just look at my post. But when you share it, tag them. Send it to President Trump, send it to JD Vance, send it to the White House. I really don't care who you voted for. That's not what this is about. It's about helping a family. That family needs assistance and resources, and they definitely need that case transferred to Homeland Security. They've been saying that for quite some time, and it's going to take someone like Trump to come in and be like, you know what, do it. So that's where we're at. We are not. So all of that stuff that came out last week was literally great because it renewed interest. That's why I said it's almost like the haters actually do us a favor, and fake news also does us a favor because people start talking, people start looking again, but if you ever want to know if something's actually true, you should check one of our pages. The first one you should always check is Brad Bradley's X account, because that's the lead on everything. If he hasn't posted it, you can probably assume that it's not true. Maybe, check back later that day just to make sure, but we always follow his lead. Once he's posted on his X account, which is BradRad5 Bradley, then we follow. We put it on Instagram, we put it on Facebook, we put it on TikTok. So that's your best bet. You can always message us as well and just ask us, and we'll let you know. Okay. I'm going to get one more thing that I want to say before we get to some questions is, if you go to amybradleyismissing.com, which is a brand new website, so if you haven't checked it out, please do. There's definitely some things that we're still working on. As I mentioned in the beginning of this live, my dad passed away right in the middle of us doing this, so we got delayed. But we are close to having that finished. There's a couple of other things that we want to add, but we'll have it done here soon. There is a tab on that website though, and it's the link tree. And so if you go to the link tree, to make sure you're following all of the pages, Brad's X account is on there. His TikTok account is on there. He's not as active on TikTok as I am, but the Facebook group is on there. The Instagram is on there. There's 3 things that I've realized that are missing off of there, and that's the Amy's awareness. So we have 2 pages on Facebook. One is a private group. And so if you already know this, if you're in a private group over there, you cannot share. So we also have Amy's Awareness Army. That's another Facebook page that we will post things over there as well. So that way you can go and share it. So make sure you're following both of those. I will put the YouTube channel on there as well, because everybody asks us every week what that is. When this is over each week, we are going to download it and put it over there on our YouTube channel. So for people that can't join in right now, they can still go back and listen and keep up with us. So we'll do that. The other one I got to ask is about the Invisaware. We're going to talk to Kevin. I think he's going to come up in a bit with Midnight Mystery Archive. He put out the last episode last week. I'm going to scroll back here in just a second, but and see some of the things that you said. But just real quick, did you all listen to the first episode of Midnight Mystery Archives about Amy, and did you like it? I'll let y'all answer.
Give us some thumbs or heart.
I loved it. I loved hearing from Amy, Ron, and Brad, and Stacy. Stacy did a great job.
I was stressed about that. My voice. Hey, I just want everyone to know that this is big for me to do, and how much I'm willing to do whatever I can to help Amy and her family. I do not like public speaking. I do not like being on camera. I do not like my voice. But I love Amy Bradley and her family, and I know them well.
I just sent an invite to somebody that I didn't mean to invite, so please don't accept that. My bad. I'm just going back to see are there what questions that we have. I'll scroll back here in just a second. Okay, so some of the questions that got sent to me early, which is great. If y'all have other questions that we don't get to tonight, send me a message. That is awesome that y'all do that, because if I don't have the answer, I'll tell you that I don't have the answer. But if you send me the message, I can go get the answer so that I have it on our actual live. But some of the things that came in this week were, did Amy have a cell phone or a pager with her while on the cruise? And that answer is no. The other next question was, do we know who sent the email regarding the jazz photos? And yes, they do know who he was, and they spoke to him at length. I mean, he was very helpful. It was a situation that he was finding those pictures later on from, I think it was a few years after they had actually even been posted. So at that point, going back and finding, not just Amy or any of the other girls was difficult, but he was someone that had invested time and was searching and was looking at a bunch of different brothels and looking for women. And he came across that photo and he came forward and sent that to the Bradley. So they do know him, and they have his contact info and all of that. Someone was asking today about the Tic Tacs that were seen by Ron. I just wanted to tell you something I learned today, because I didn't know it, was that the Tic Tac box, the container, was empty, didn't have any Tic Tacs in it, but Amy had Tic Tacs while on the cruise. And so when Ron saw them, it kind of, just made him think, like, could that possibly be? So he did bring that Tic Tac container back to Chesterfield, actually, and had the Chesterfield police analyze it, looking for fingerprints and DNA, and nothing came off of it. So that was something I learned today.
I didn't know that.
Neither did I. There was confusion about the taxi. They were saying there was two taxi cab drivers and all of this. So just let me clear that up real quick. Nope, it's only two. There were two. One was a taxi cab driver that was in Curacao, but there's not a second taxi cab driver. It's only one. That's Deshi. So you've probably heard people talk about Deshi before and his claims when Ron and Brad went back to Curacao to do the press release and to look for Amy. The other person that people are getting confused is just an eyewitness. He was not a taxi cab driver, but he is someone that claims to have seen Amy at the port being rushed through the terminal on March 28th and getting put into a car, but he wasn't a taxi cab driver that came forward. He was just a witness, and he got interviewed by Interpol. Someone asked, which was, is it Fawn Lene? I'm sorry, I might have forgotten that already, but she had asked two things. She wanted to know if we knew about pictures of a woman circulating that was singing karaoke that looks very much like Amy, if we knew about her and our thoughts. So yes, we do know about her, and I believe, Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong, that woman has actually passed away too, right? Yeah, I think so too.
She has passed
But
away.
yeah, there were when that Netflix show came out, I went to Brad. He was big on X. He wasn't really doing Instagram or Facebook or anything really. And I said, you got to go to TikTok. Like, if anybody's going to find Amy, it'll be TikTok. Like, they're all about it. And so he joined one night, and he went to bed, and the next morning woke up and had 150,000 followers. And he was like, oh my Lord. So he's come on and given a lot of information, and people started digging. I mean, just like I knew that they would. So we have been sent those photos along with some others that definitely look like Amy, but they're not Amy. And the woman that you're speaking about in the karaoke bar, that woman is actually even passed away. She also wanted to know if there was any chance that someone had an access key and could have entered the Bradley's room and came in and encouraged Amy to leave. You know, I think the accurate answer to say is, I guess anything is possible, but no. There's nothing in me that would ever believe that someone opened that door and came in and walked out onto that patio where she was, and because she would have been startled, first of all, that someone was in a room. So I don't think she just looks up at someone and goes, oh, okay, I leave. Yeah, sure, I'll go with you. I think her first, if someone had come into my room and walked past my sleeping mother, my sleeping father, and my sleeping brother and entered the patio, my first thought is going to be like, WTF, what are you doing on our patio and how did you get in? So no, there's nothing in me that believes that Amy, that somebody entered the room and took Amy. There's nothing
If
in
I
me.
could add on to that, Sandy, I would think if they would, that key card that they, allegedly would have would show up on a report.
That's
as
true.
well.
That is true. So that's a very good point. It did not show when people would leave a room, but each time you entered a room, you would have to put that card in, and we would have that on record. So no one came into that room. I think she was saying that if it was somebody that worked with staff, though, maybe they had some like special security access card, that maybe wouldn't have registered, but I don't believe that. I don't think so. I mean,
I think those registered though too. I think anytime you use a card in there, I think those register too. But real quick, and I have a tendency to lose my train of thought a lot of times. But so yeah, there was a lot of pictures. I just want to go back to the pictures. There was a lot of pictures circulating of what people thought were possibly Amy, and so we don't really like to have pictures of people on anywhere because it's disrespecting their privacy, and people actually like run into them and then even talk to them. We've had a couple incidents where that has happened and people have been like overwhelmed with it. And then I just want to go to that comment about the picture of the website picture that was sent. I too, like the Bradleys, reacted the same way, and it's very, yes, I do think it's Amy.
Yeah. I was
I
looking
do.
at it again even this week. We all looked at it back then real hard and we're like, for us that I think it's very hard for people and please if you see someone that you think looks like Amy, do not get discouraged by what I say in that yes, lots of people send us pictures and it's not her. What if you are the one person that's right? And that's what I think is hard is that when you only know someone through pictures, you don't see I don't know, you just don't know them as well as like I know Stacy better because I see her in person and not yet. I don't know. But when I saw those pictures of Jazz, I went, oh my God. Oh my God. They stopped all of us in our tracks.
I can tell you exactly where I was when I looked at those pictures for the very first time. I know exactly where I was. And that's how much it hit me.
Where were you? You want to tell? Or you were just saying? Was it anywhere important?
I mean, I was. I
I'm
mean, I
just
was at
kidding.
my house. I was at not
I'm
house,
just
not
kidding.
this house, obviously.
I
Um.
am just kidding with you.
Okay. I was in my living room, computer on the back of the couch, and I opened my. It yeah.
All right.
It's definitely.
I am now going back just to see if what questions we might have missed um, in here. And let's see, Kyla or Mandy, do y'all want to? Is there anything that we missed that we're like y'all? They help on our team as well, especially with social media and creating flyers and things of that nature. And they do really cool stuff too. Mandy did something really cool, taking those little cards out when she goes out to restaurants and leaving them in bars. So I'm just trying to see if there's any questions on here that we didn't answer. And
We have amazing people who do stuff for us. I mean, amazing people. Like even all the way out in Barbados, hanging up a clue box in a popular destination with a letter from that I wrote to Amy. I mean, I can't go to Barbados and do that myself. I mean, we have people, and it's just amazing the love and support. For every hater, I believe in my heart there's at least 100 that love us.
I agree. I know there was just some back and forth, and someone asked me to tell you, Sandy. I guess there was some comments back and forth about the photo being actually confirmed as Amy, and they weren't sure that it was.
nope, it is high probability is what it is. It was a forensic expert that had initially done it, and I talked with Iva actually at length about it today, and he is the one that came back and said, I stake my whole entire career on it's Amy. And of course he has to say high probability because but he now works for the FBI doing exactly what he did for them. So um, I think to say there are, we don't get thousands. I don't want it to sound like we get thousands of pictures of people. A lot of times when I say we get thousands of pictures, it's the same person, because we have so many people on 4 different platforms that are trying to help us. And so they might send us the same photo 200 times. So we might have seen it 200 times, but it's the same person. But we do get a lot of photos and we immediately look at it and we're like, yeah, that ain't Amy. That is not Amy. There's been some that we've kind of been like, all right, let's take a closer look at this one. That could be, we don't know what she's may or may not have gone through. We don't know, anything. Is she on some type of rugs or not? Is there sun damage? Is there not? We don't know. So we have to take that in consideration and keep that in mind. But there's just certain features though about somebody, the eyes, the cheeks, there's certain features you know are going to still be there. And Jazz's eyes do it for me. That really is what made me go, yep, that's Amy. That is Amy.
Thank you.
So yes, so no confirmation 1000% that it's Amy because we don't have Amy. If once we get Amy home, she'll be able to say, yes, that was me. Until then, we just have to go off of what the experts say, and the experts say high probability, and I will stake my career on it.
And no one has come forward and said, I'm that person. People claim, but no one has. And the only person who can claim that is them and verify is Amy.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can get 100% guarantee without a doubt.
Right.
But we believe we believe it's her. But
just as I'm going through this, Hibiscus, you mentioned to Brad, what about a billboard and or putting her story and pictures on a deck of cards? I don't know what that means, but I'm always open to ideas. So I'd love for you to reach out to me separately and let's have a conversation. And when you say billboard, I'm assuming maybe on a road, but I don't know if you mean in Curacao. I don't know if you mean here. I don't, Barbados. I don't know. Or if you're talking about something else. So let's have a conversation.
actually gone on like ChatGPT and asked how much it was to rent a billboard to put up that signature, like to put up pictures for her, and ask President Trump to get involved in it.
Yeah, we would really hope and pray that something comes of, that was a lot for them to get up this morning. Not when you're trying to find your daughter. I'm just saying, 9 o'clock news is a little easier on anybody, right? I went back to bed as soon as I watched the interview. Truthful. But they got up and, they're all over there. Get it. But I would love to see that. Hopefully Trump was up watching the news. He normally is at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, I would assume if he saw that, he's probably digging in and maybe asking questions and trying to find out what's going on and why the family's on, Fox News begging for it to be, so hopefully we might hear from him, sooner than later. So has Yellow's daughter shared anything new from the past? No. Her story remains the same. She remains consistent. She'll reach out occasionally, just to say hi and still offer her support, but nothing's changed on her end. She still feels deep down that her father had something to do with it. And I just think that speaks volumes, but that's me.
yeah. Reading through anybody? Well, you're reading through the questions, I see.
Yeah. So in the future, if I'm talking, I'm going to need you to watch the questions. So then you can tell me what questions we had. Because now I'm
vice versa. Okay, got it.
Yeah, because I'm like trying to go back now and
I'm very.
you know what? That question.
What are they called?
You're a rookie, a newbie. Nana had a question that said, has Margarita Island, I'm going to write this kind of stuff down because that's a question I don't know the answer to, but it says, has Margarita Island been searched ever? Have no clue. Don't know the answer to that, so I'm not going to.
Prison is a great.
The photo at the children's home been included, a woman in her 50s. I don't know about a photo at a children's home. We were approached by someone that spoke about a children's home, but we've never received a photo of a female. So if you have that, Nana, I would love for you to submit that. Just a reminder, when y'all have things, it's not that that's why I was kind of trying to explain earlier, like we have a lot of stuff going on in our life. We're not doing this 24 hours a day. We do it as much as we possibly can, but it's always best to send any leads or tips to amybradleyismissing@gmail.com. amybradleyismissing@gmail.com. That email goes to several of us. I do see them come in, so I will see it that way. You don't have to go and send it to me separately because I see it through that email, but so does the rest of the team. So it would be great if there's a phone number as well, 804, oh my God, 769 4AMY, 4AMY. That's also on the website. So in case I just gave y'all the wrong number, go check it out over there. But amybradleyismissing@gmail.com is the best way to contact us, and it goes to the whole team, including Iva and Ron and Brad. So we all see it. So that would be a lot of times when we get stuff, then I have to go and then send it to Brad or send it over there and saying, do you all see it? And they're like, yep, we got it too. So it would help us a lot if it just got everything just got sent to that one email, because that's one central location that we can all go to. We all see it, and we all know it's there. Okay, let's see.
As far as Epstein goes, and I see that on there, Epstein, we don't know of any connection. I mean, obviously, we know that Roy Caribbean was mentioned in the Epstein files, and we are aware of the 17-year-old who claims or said that she was abducted, and we are aware of that. But as far as anything that is tied to it, we don't know. Is it possible?
I'm fine, Lynette. You said I'm stuck. See, my questions was more about Amy being covered to leave from her room. No. I'm assuming you're like against her will. No. I just don't. She would have screamed. She would have done something. She wasn't going to just let somebody cover her up and take her on out of that room.
I mean, Brad just shared a story about how she doesn't like to be held. I mean, she hugging her tight, and then she headbutted her and flipped over the couch. So
Yeah.
Amy is a fighter. Amy is very, yeah. She is absolute.
Okay. I'll just say this. I'm trying to go back and do this at the
Very
same time.
humble.
If you have asked me a question and I didn't answer it, can you please just retype it? I'm very sorry. I was trying to keep up, but I think I may have missed something. So if it is. And yes, that story about Ron and Amy, I love it, because if you know them and you know their personalities, like that is them to a T. I know people want to turn that around and make it a negative and say, oh, Amy had boundaries and Ron wasn't. No, that's a dad and a daughter that were extremely close and extremely tight. And they played around and goofed off like that all the time. And let me tell you something, Amy gave it back. Amy is not some light, delicate flower. Like, she was a beast. That is a 5-star athlete. You know, I mean, she was amazing in her athletics in high school and in college. So let's see.
I'll read them out to you, Andy. Has the waiter been interviewed and cleared?
Has the waiter,
Has
is
the
that
waiter been
Eduardo?
interviewed?
I think that's Eduardo. Has he been cleared? All right, we'll get that answered for you. We'll put that on there because I don't know that one off the
You
top
mind
of
if
my
I
head.
ask a question?
Yeah, you
And
sure
this
can.
will be, something more that Iva and Ron can attest to, but I would love to hear about the uncle's experience on the cruise that they took about 2 weeks after the disappearance. It was the same cruise, following the same islands. I wanted to know if Yellow was on the cruise, and so did he act suspicious, or did anyone on the boat appear suspicious?
Okay.
I knew that I felt that the uncles would be, if Yellow was on the boat, that uncles would be very, they would definitely throw down. I would find it hard that they would have to restrain themselves, but I just kind of wanted to confirm what was that situation like.
So Iva and I have been talking about that, of possibly getting them to come on, because they are several people that got interviewed. You know, Tom was just one of them that Netflix chose not to use. But the uncles certainly have a story there as well, and their story didn't get told. So we are talking about possibly having them come up on a future forum here so that they can actually speak and tell you themselves, and you don't have to hear about it from me. So I'll table that one for right now, and let us see if we can get that worked out for you guys in the coming weeks. Is that fair? I also did see someone asking about the DNA and if that's ever been done. And yes, they have put their DNA in case, if there ever was a hit to come up in regards to Amy.
Will Yellow's ex help out about the pics of girls in large sum of cash? Have we reached out
Say it again.
to Yellow's ex? Will Yellow's ex help out about the pics of girls in large sum of cash?
I don't want to say that one. I'm going to write it down because
Yeah.
I feel like Brad might have. I want to say that for sure. But we'll see, because that'd be somebody else that maybe she could come on with Amika. And I've thought about that.
Yeah.
So we'll check in on that one. I feel like that one has been explored, but I don't know that she wants to be on social media. I know Amika is on here and doing things. I don't know if that means her mom will, but Frisky Girls just said that she thinks Brad said she won't talk. So I did feel like they'd had a conversation at some point, but I'll follow up with him and just ask him that.
Well, we can come around again.
So do you still think Amy is on the islands or possibly somewhere else? That is the question of the day. We have no clue. When people talked about, I know we're getting ready to wrap up here, so I'll say, I'm going to answer this question, but real quick, just remind you all, we'll be back next Tuesday, 7:30 every week. Midnight Mystery Archive was going to join us. I don't know if he came on here and we missed him, but the next episode of his will come out this Friday. So if you haven't listened to episode 1, please do. It's such a great episode about Amy. But episode 2 by Midnight Mystery Archive, anywhere that you listen to podcast, you can find him. That's Apple and YouTube or wherever. And I will say that he has a relationship with Invisaware. They had reached out to him and said, hey, we see what you're doing with Amy. We want to, partner with you. And if you listen to his podcast, you can get a link from him to go to Invisaware. It's got all of these amazing things. And I'm going to buy a keychain for my daughter. She's about to start driving. But it's keychains, it's necklaces, it's bracelets, it's hair ties, it's things that you wouldn't think would be a GPS, which is amazing. And so if you do that, Kevin is actually donating all of the commission off of that to the Bradley family. So I do want to mention that and make sure you, check out last week's episode and this coming Friday's episode. And then I'm so sorry. What was the question I said I'm going to answer before I got? Anybody remember what the question was that
You're not asking me.
Lord have mercy.
I'm not seeing anything yet.
I'm old.
I know, same. And I'm tired. We've been up since 4:00 this morning. I said I was going to answer one more question.
You went back to bed.
Oh, where's Amy located? Thank you so much. See, I need y'all. Yeah, I did. I mean, I don't get up at 4:00 in the morning. Are you crazy? So as far as where Amy is located, that's the biggest question of the day, and when all of this was going down and people were saying, oh, they should have stayed in Curacao. Well, she wasn't being found in the water. And you also have to remember something. You have to take into account people's mentality. Iva never once, Ron never once, and Brad never once really believed that Amy was in that water. But you have people pushing you in that direction, and they're like, there's no way. There's no way she would have jumped. There's no way she would have fallen over accidentally. There's just no way. But at the time, you have to remember, they don't know about the eyewitnesses either. Like, that hasn't come forward because the ship hasn't put out any type of announcement. So they're kind of like at a loss of like, what is going on? You have to imagine, put yourself in their shoes, and your daughter and your sister it's just vanished. And you're like, so when they got off of that, they wanted to get back on that cruise ship because they were like, she's not in this water. There's no chance that she's in this water. And then they go to St. Martin. So you really don't know where she's at. If she was on Curacao when she was supposedly seen in Barbados, the conversation that didn't make the Netflix show was that they talked about going back to Curacao. So they were in Barbados and they were talking about going back to Curacao. So she could go from island to island to island. Someone contacted us today and said, I think I've seen her in Hawaii. Now realize that's a tip, that's not been looked into or anything, but we have no idea. I mean, there are people that believe that she's actually been brought here to America. But we follow up on every lead and tip. We do have a team that's working on things, and there are certain areas that they are focused. We don't share that kind of information because we have to protect the integrity of the, case and keep Amy safe. But really, any tip that comes in from anywhere in the world, we're going to look into it and investigate it and see if there's anything to it. But there's no way for us to know where she's at. We just don't know. We just have to, that's why we get on here and we beg for help and we beg for resources and we beg for assistance and we beg for, the case to be given to Homeland Security. Homeland Security, by the way, would have a lot more jurisdiction than the FBI would. So that's why we're trying to do that, because there's some additional things that they can now do, that the FBI cannot. So, all right, my friends. Well, it is 8:30. I appreciate you all joining us again tonight. I'll have the link up to join us again next Tuesday, and we'll work on some of those guests that you talked about. If you have additional questions this week, send it to me directly. That's the easiest way for me to make sure I have it, and we'll get you answers. I've written down the questions that we don't have answers to. We'll certainly answer those next week. Please go and share that interview this morning. And please tag the president and the White House and JD and anybody else that you think might help us in getting that case transferred over to Homeland Security. So thank you all so much. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys. Good night.